All right, hey everybody, Mark Burgess here, Big East Bass Fishing, bringing you another video. Appreciate you tuning in, checking it out, subscribing to the channel. Thank you very much. If you haven't, please do so. And, follow it, and share it, and like it, and all that other good stuff. So today I thought I'd talk to you about specifically now, attention, co-anglers, okay, or even team anglers. If you're not a boater, okay, and you're part of a two-man team, what tackle and equipment should you bring? Okay, that's just a wide open question, I know. Okay, so I'm going to tell you my experience and my thoughts on it, and hopefully this will help you out. So coming up here, February 2nd through the 4th is the New England Fishing Expo. It's in a brand new venue. We're coming from Boxborough, and it's going to be in Marlboro, right off 495, February 2nd through the 4th. The reason I mention that is you're going to be able to see more tackle in one place than anywhere else. I'm talking the real deal, okay, the good stuff that you can touch and feel and talk to people about, see in action, okay? Talk to people who use those baits. What's trending? What's the new cutting edge deal, okay? The equipment keeps getting better all the time. So I thought it would be a perfect time to do a video like this. So with the show coming up, you can pick up some of the things that you're going to need, okay? Now, we've all seen both ends of the spectrum, okay? I've had just phenomenal co-anglers for years, fishing all the Pro-Ams, the Opens and so forth, the Elites, they were just marshals, but prior to that, they were co-anglers, all right? So, excuse me, what should you bring? What equipment do you need? There's only so much space, and if you've ever been a co-angler and you know the co-angler experience, there's not a lot of room for your equipment and tackle, and it gets all tangled up and just a mess and so forth, and you spend a lot of time digging through equipment, trying to tie on different baits and so you can do different techniques, okay? So I'm going to try to simplify this all for you if I can, okay? So go back and look. I've done a couple videos on some tricks to keep your rods organized, about twisting the line around the blank and the guides to keep them from getting tangled up. And, I do this literally between, putting down a rod and picking up a rod. I typically won't do it, in the scheme of things, not scheme of things, but in the moment, okay? If I'm going to make a run, I will, and I encourage everybody to do that, co-angles especially, so when you get to your next spot, your stuff's not all, messed up. So let's start with the equipment. 4 or 5 rods, I feel, is you should be able to get by with. Again, and a lot of that's going to depend on where you're going and what you're doing. I would recommend the first thing you do, if you know who you're going to fish with, having a conversation with them regarding, are you fishing in 2 inches of water or 20 plus feet of water, okay? Is it going to be all offshore? Are you on a smallmouth fishery where there's going to be live scope involved? Are you going to be, throwing a drop shot or a Ned ring, something like that? Are you fishing with someone, if you're fishing with someone like me, right now I don't have live scope, so you don't have to worry about that. But during the spawn, I'm going to be looking at them, so all these things come into play, all right? So I have literally had my butt handed to me by co-anglers doing something completely different, and that's been a successful strategy, really, fishing behind some people. You definitely don't want to be doing the same exact thing they're doing with the same exact bait, the same exact way, thrown in the same exact spot. Don't be doing that. If you're a lot of times putting the boat right on the bank, parallel to the cover, that's the deal. So the boater is going to be throwing up ahead of the boat, hitting the juice first, and you're not left with much. Okay, so realize that if there's little to no opportunity for you, you're watching, you know, and the guy's like a vacuum, okay, and he's hitting all the juice, and it's working. He's catching fish. Typically, shallow, isolated targets like that, there's not multiple fish on them. They hold one fish, usually one decent fish, okay? So you fishing it again, even with a different bait, there's a little bit better opportunity with a different bait, different style bait, different color bait, than doing the same exact thing, of course. But in my opinion, you need to be doing something completely different, okay? Not competing with the guy in the front of the boat, okay? So I've had plenty of co-anglers fish behind me, just drowning a Senko, throwing a Carolina rig, throwing a little modified drop shot, throwing just a small, like, little Texas rig black worm around. Not all the fish are located where the boater is fishing. And, you know, the time of year is going to depend on that, okay? So typically if a guy's up against the bank, you know, I'll give you a little tip here. If the back unit is on, you're going to be able to see the depth of the water. You might be able to see, you know, some charting or whatever, but however, you should have access to water temperature and the depth. All right, so, you know, if he's up against the bank or cast length away from the bank, you know, and you're in 2.5, 3 feet of water, chances are he's fishing 2.5, 3 feet of water or less, okay? Out is going to be deeper, all right? So typically that first drop, okay? So you want to be fishing water that the boater is not fishing, okay? That's you're going to be the first one to put a bait on it, okay? I'm not saying you're going to have access to side imaging or 360 or live or anything like that, but definitely do something different, okay? So, and the other thing I'm going to tell you to do is don't experiment, okay, with techniques, baits that you have not done before, you haven't been successful at. I've done a bunch of videos on how to categorize your baits, okay, and in short, real brief, you know, you're going to end up with 3 piles of baits. The first pile of bait are baits or light, you know, types of baits. Those colors, hard baits. I'm talking about the actual hard bait, like a crankbait, something like that. But a spinnerbait could be, you know, white chartreuse skirt, double willow, whatever the case may be. Baits that have actually been in a fish's mouth. That's the first bucket. Second bucket is baits that you really feel should catch fish. Maybe you know someone who's caught fish on them. They just look great. I mean, there's no reason why they shouldn't, right? But we don't know. Okay, so they're unknown, but they're still in the queue. Okay, they haven't proven themselves, and you're not ready to say, no, I'm doing away with these. Then you get the third pile of baits, which will be baits you've never caught a fish on. You've used them, and you've fished them well in the right situation, under the right conditions, and no matter what, they just haven't got the job done. Okay, those are the ones you want to give away. Do away with those, okay? So stick with the baits that have actually been in a fish's mouth that you have confidence in, okay? Regardless, I mean, again, time of year, things like that. You know, pre-spawn, cold water, you're gonna need stuff like a jerkbait, a jig, okay, a crankbait, shallow diamond crankbait, medium diamond crankbait, stuff like that. Some of the, you can't miss with the drop shot. You can use a drop shot year round. Okay, so I'm going to suggest a couple of spinning rods. One's going to have a little drop shot on it. The other one could, you're going to be able to go back and forth, say between like a stick bait, a Senko style bait, and maybe a Ned rig or something like that, Nico rig, whatever, something finessey. Okay, so 2 spinning rods that you can do those techniques with, drop shot and some other kind of finesse technique. Okay, now 3 bait casters. You're definitely going to want to have rods that can do a lot of different things. All right, so Find yourself a rod that's, years ago it was 6X medium heavy. You definitely can get by with that. But, 6'10", 7 foot, medium heavy rod, that can do a lot of different things. All right. You can pitch a little bait around, a little creature bait around, a little jig around, Texas rig worm, something like that. You can throw like a chatterbait, a spinnerbait, and then, a rod that you can throw like a crankbait on, okay? Shallow to medium diving crankbait. The reason I'm not saying deep diving crankbait is because that's a whole nother world. It's very difficult to, if you've never done it, throw a deep dive, and I mean deep diving crankbait. I'm talking 12, 15, 18, 20 foot, that a crankbait's going to go down that deep. It's a specialized thing that, you hitting the target in that deep of water from a cast length away, 50-yard cast with a crankbait, it's especially hard to do. And if you're a co-angler, you don't have access to the electronics to show you exactly what you're throwing at. So I'm not recommending it. Okay, you're better off throwing like a Carolina rig. Okay, you can cover a lot of water with a Carolina rig. So that's what I'm suggesting. Keep it simple. Keep it with just baits that you have confidence in. Okay, if you're just starting out and you don't have a lot of confidence in certain baits, you can talk to some guys about certain baits that just flat out catch fish. School square bills, wigglewort, a jerk bait, a ton of good jerk baits, Megabass, to name one, Berkeley Stunner, Lucky Craft, shallow diving jerk bait, those kinds of things. Spinnerbait, white chartreuse, a couple different blade combinations, depending on the watercolor. A Colorado willow, 3/8 to half-ounce spinnerbait, in white chartreuse with Colorado willow combination. It's hard to beat. It's won a ton of money. Chatterbait, can't go wrong with that either. In the springtime, you're going to be, reddish hues, crawfish hues, things like that. Can't go wrong with black and blue. Can't go wrong with like a shad pattern with that. You don't have to get too crazy with trailers. Most any trailer is going to work. I know I hear people going, what? You're going to have your favorite trailer or whatever, but your boater can help with that. Something to cover water with, something that you can do behind somebody that you don't have to bring like a crazy amount of tackle. Okay, so I started to talk about it a little earlier. I've seen guys that bring, very, very limited amount of tackle. They're confidence baits and rods and reels, and that's it. I've total other end of the spectrum with like giant bags that weigh 100 pounds and full of all the lead and jigs and every crankbait and spinnerbait and chatterbait known to man. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. I will recommend though that whatever you do bring for hard baits, you bring duplicates. All right. So let's take chatterbait for example. You get to the lake. You want to have dark colors and you want to have light colors. Okay, that's it. Dark colors, you want to fish in off color to stained and muddy water. When it's sunny. When it's cloudy, you can go the other direction and fish some lighter colors, some brighter colors. Clear water, brighter colors that stand out. Spinnerbait, couple different versions. Like I said, willow leaf, double willow is a faster retrieve, comes through grass real good. Colorado, more vibration, it's a little slower. It'll stay down onto the bottom better. Made more for open water, not for grass, because they have a wider arc. The blade has a wider arc, it'll catch grass. You don't want that. Little shallow crankbaits, square bills, things like that. In the spring, flat sides. Summertime, more wide body, that kind of thing. Soft plastic, again, you can fall back on you only need a couple of colors, all right? Clear water, your natural, your green pumpkin, your watermelon, Any versions of those, like red flakes, stuff like that, will work. And I know I'm going really fast here because it's just a lot of material that I'm trying to get in a short period of time. So colors, basically natural colors, some darker and some natural colors for soft plastics, whether that be a jig trailer or a worm or a creature bait, something like that. So you can really narrow down what you bring if you stick to those. You're going to need like a black blue, black neon, which is black red for off-color dirty water, and you're going to need the green pumpkin watermelons and any variations of those for clearer water. For soft plastic. Okay, so jig wise, you may need a half a dozen of each. If you depends, 3/8 ounce jig, you can do a lot with a half-ounce jig. Okay, and again, dirty off-color water, black blue, you can't go wrong. Even in clear water, smallmouth bite black blue as well. So you really can't go wrong with that. And then some kind of a natural jig that's got green pumpkins and browns and things, orange and stuff like that in it. Okay, short little trailers when the water's cold in the spring, like little chunks, and then when the water warms up, you can go with more of a twin tail grub type of situation. Get away with just a couple different trailers there. Jerk bait. You want to stay, basically, that's a visual thing. If the water's clear enough to throw a jerk bait, you're throwing shad colors, translucent colors, gold to bluish hues on the top, clear translucent bodies on that short, jerk bait. So let's see what else. I mean, summertime, you can't go wrong with the top water. You need a top water that can come through vegetation and cover, and a top water that you can fish in open water. So I'm going to recommend, like a buzzbait for around cover, or a toad. Okay, frog, but that's pretty much more specialized. You're going to have to be in the right situation with the right. In a frog, you're talking 7 foot, 7'2", 4'6" rod, medium heavy, emphasis on the heavy, 50-pound braid at a minimum, to get a hook in them. That's, again, knowing where you're going and what you're going to be doing will help with that. But generally, if you want to throw a Zara Spook, in open clear water, or like a buzzbait or a toad, not necessarily for frog, but a toad that you can cover some water with, and that'll pretty much cover the top water part of things. Okay, so that's how you can kind of keep it simple, organized to a nice bag. It'll not only make your boater happy, but it'll keep you more organized, and there's less options. But don't be wondering if that particular bait that you brought is going to catch a fish. If you've fished with me, then you've seen, I know that bait's going to catch fish. I never worry about that. I honestly never worry about the bait that I have tied on. Is that going to catch a fish? It comes down to me putting it in the right place and imparting the right action or non-action to the bait. But everything I throw in a tournament, I know 100% fact is going to catch a fish. Why? Because it's proven itself. It's caught him before, and I know it'll catch him again. I never wonder about the bait. I never wonder about the color. Ever. Now, this is coming from someone I've been doing this a long time, okay? So that's easy for me to say. In a tournament, or even in practice, I'm never throwing a bait that hasn't been in a fish's mouth, or that color, that style, the way I'm rigging it, that kind of thing, okay? It's nothing new to me, okay? All the stuff that's new to me, I'm doing when I'm out fun fishing with the family or my buddies, or I'm out maybe shooting some content. I did, quite a few videos on promotional videos for product, reviews, that kind of thing. The people send me product, and I'll go check it out. That's the only time that I'm throwing that stuff is, on those situations. Would I take that into a tournament with me? Yes, if it really really worked, and it's become part of my little repertoire, part of my lineup, if you will. So, and I have had that happen. All right, and you saw, if you look back at some of my videos, that Nomad Design Swim-Trex crankbait, that little red craw one, orange craw, 3/4 ounce, that was, again, I was trying that product out, doing some product reviews and testing, flat out just catches them. That's now part of my deal. Okay, I throw that. But at first, I don't know. I mean, I like the color and the bait type. Okay, lipless crankbait. Yeah, that's no secret there. But that particular bait, you know, it had to prove itself, and it has. So that's what I'm saying. Co-anglers, limit yourself to about 5 rods. Like I said, a couple spinning rods, 3 bait casters. You can get a little bit more technique specific if you're going to be throwing a crankbait, something, you know, obviously more of a crankbait rod that can double as a, you know, not a chatterbait type rod. Lack of words there. You know, similar. Okay, so you can cover 2 bases there. Okay, with that rod. You know, you know, depending on what you're doing, if you're going braid to fluoro, or you're straight fluoro, that pound test, be in the pound test line that you can, you know, go back and forth between a couple of different baits. Okay, like, you know, 15, 17, 20 pound fluoro on a spinner bait, on a chatterbait. You know, perfect. A jig. I mean, that's you can do that. You're going to get away with that. Not a problem at all. If you go too light, that's going to limit you on what you can throw, because you'll break off, and you definitely don't want to do that in a tournament. So be mindful of that. You could bring a couple spools of line if you really had to, and re-spool real quick, especially if you're splicing in, or if you're doing a fluoro leader, braid to fluoro leader. If you're throwing, depending on what rod it's on, if it's on a bait caster, you know, if you're you know, 30, 40 pound, 50 pound braid to a leader. But if you got, you know, 12 pound braid and an 8 pound leader, I mean, that's going to limit what you can do. Okay, so just be mindful of that. But bringing less tackle that you have confidence in, that you know gets the job done, whether it be the baits or the rods and reels, that's really going to help you fishing. And use that stuff not to compete with your boater, but to, you know, I mean, we're all competitive. Okay, you want to kick the guy's ass. Okay, so that's fine. Whatever motivates you, right? But keep in mind where he's fishing, what he's fishing, how he's fishing. All right, pay attention. I was going to do a video on situational awareness. You need to be aware of everything going on. Not only what he's doing, he or she's doing, how they're doing it, where they're doing it, what kind of bait they're using, how deep a water you're in. I can't tell you how many times that, you know, I've seen people throw in, you know, out into 40, 50 feet of water. You know, and I'm not trying to, you know, hurt their chances. I want them to catch fish too. So it's just like, hey, listen, you know, the long extended point or something like that. The deal's on this side. Throw this way. Okay, you'll have better luck. You know, in those open water situations where you have, you know, multiple fish in a school, that kind of thing. So just be mindful of stuff like that, and you'll catch more fish. But do something different. I mean, like I said, I think the baits and the techniques that I've seen catch more fish behind me have been a Carolina rig, a drop shot, for sure, weightless Senko, Ned rig, Nico rig type situation. You know, I got just some funny stories coming in my head right now where, you know, I've just flat out just had my butt kicked when I'm trying to do a certain thing or get something out of my head or whatever the case may be. I'm doing what I got to do to figure out how to catch fish, you know. And you got somebody in the back that's just flat out wearing them out. you know, that's you got to myself, you know, you got to take notice of that. But I've seen it. Okay, I've seen it. I've experienced it, and it works a whole lot better than the person that's trying to literally go cast for cast with me at the same target in the same hole with the same style bait. You know, yeah, I mean, you might catch a fish or two, but for the most part, like I mentioned earlier in the video, they're one fish targets. The cover's only so big, so there's only so much there, and usually you'll have a dominant fish there, and you'll catch them. First one in there will catch them. Okay, so don't do that. All right, so that's pretty much the advice I have for co-anglers. Also, make sure that you bring rain gear, something to drink, that kind of thing. But I literally have in my boat plenty to drink. I have a spare set of rain gear. I have a spare life jacket. I've seen life jackets blow out, you know, out of the boat, and they don't have a life jacket, and you know, and you can't fire in the tournament. It's not only dangerous, but you can't. It's against the rules. But you know, bring your life jacket. You know, something to drink, lunch, sunblock. I have that on my boat, but not everybody does. Okay, so you got to make sure you're prepared. Sunglasses. I've seen guys have horrible days, just being out on super bright days. I have spare sunglasses that I let people borrow, but that may not be the case. So when you go prepared. Go prepared. Okay, rain gear, sunglasses, sunblock, water, you know, some food, that kind of thing, just to keep your energy level up. But, you know, obviously hat. Again, I carry spare hat as well, you know, not only for myself, but if anybody else needs it, okay? But you don't know that if that's going to be the case. So limit your tackle, get focused, bring your confidence baits, and you'll have a much better day on the water. And that's what we all want, is to have fun on the water and be successful. So don't forget, I'll mention again, New England Fishing Expo, February 2nd through the 4th in Marlboro. You're going to be able to get everything you need to be ready to go this spring. All right. So I hope this helps you out. And drop a comment. If you got any questions at all on anything, I'd be more than glad to answer. And again, I appreciate you checking it out. And we'll see you in the next one.